Welcome to the Hilton Head News. I'm Allie McNair. There are 19 candidates running for the 1st District congressional seat in South Carolina. 3 are Democrats and 16 are Republicans. One of those candidates, former Governor Mark Sanford, was on the island Monday. He spoke to the Hilton Head Island First Monday Republican Lunch Group. In just a few minutes, we'll talk with the former governor about why he's decided to run and why voters should choose him over the other candidates in that crowded field. As we mentioned earlier in the show, former Governor Mark Sanford is on Hilton Head Island Monday for a Republican luncheon. He is a candidate for the 1st Congressional District seat, and he joins us on the Hilton Head News. Governor Sanford, thank you for coming in.
My pleasure.
I want to ask you, given the way your second term as governor ended, a lot of people, including you, have said that your days in politics were over. What's changed?
Well, the phone lines lit up, I guess, is the short answer. You know, a lot of folks called and said, Mark, you really ought to look at this. Their point was, you know, Mark, here's a chance to take what you learned in Congress, what you learned in the governorship, what you learned on your way up, what you learned on your way down, and apply it to what is arguably the great debate of our civilization, which is how do we get our financial house in order up in Washington, D.C. It's something I've long believed in. It's something I believe in. I didn't see this opportunity coming along to maybe have a second chance at making a difference in that debate. Now that it's here, though, I'm pushing ahead, and we'll see what happens.
You're here, as I mentioned, for that Republican luncheon. The mayor of Hilton Head Island, Drew Laughlin, and also Mayor Lisa Sulka of Bluffton have already said they endorse State Representative Andy Patrick, who lives here on Hilton Head Island. Why should Islanders vote for you instead?
Well, I mean, again, I completely understand the local notion of local, folks that are more, elected level, watching out for somebody who's elected from the same neck of the woods. I completely respect and understand that. But what I've heard consistently from folks in Beaufort County, I grew up in northern Beaufort County, is that, Mark, you have a remarkably consistent voice in terms of trying to bring sanity to government in the way that it operates and trying to have it operate sanely from the standpoint of what it spends. I was rated #1 in the entire United States Congress in votes to limit federal spending and federal taxation by National Taxpayers Union, by Citizens Against Government Waste, was rated as the financially most conservative governor in the United States of America. So what I've heard in terms of whether it's islanders or folks that are off the island is that, Mark, we want to see that kind of financial discipline brought back to Washington, D.C., the kind of voice that you advocated for in years past.
There seems to be such gridlock, though, with Congress and such polarization between the two parties. Are you willing to reach across the aisle? Do you think it's even possible for Republicans and Democrats to work together?
If they don't, we're in real trouble. I mean, we really are at a tipping point as a civilization, and unless we get it right, there are going to be incredible consequences in terms of the value of the dollar, in terms of our savings, in terms of, frankly, the opportunities that have historically been provided for Americans and frankly, the next generation to come. So it's one of those where if we don't, we will see profound problems. I would also say I have a history of being able to do that when I was governor. We saw the first cut to the marginal income tax rate, the largest recurring tax cut in South Carolina history. A whole host of changes that were brought about because we worked with folks on both sides of the aisle.
What is your most important message that you want to get out to voters?
Quite simply that, if you look at where I've come from for a long time, I was predicting that this day would come, that this tipping point that we now face as a civilization, wherein 40 cents of every dollar is in essence being borrowed, which is going to again have incredibly harmful consequences if not turned around. And so what I would ask folks to look at and remember is the fact that not only have I pointed in that direction, but I've consistently tried to do something about that for a very long time and would very much like to represent that viewpoint again in Washington.
And the answers are what to solving this problem?
There are no easy answers. I mean, I think that the answers are, for instance, in a willingness to take a stand. Too often people want to be in the comfortable middle in the world of politics. I was the first governor in the United States of America to turn back stimulus funds because I didn't believe that a problem of too much debt could be solved with yet more debt. That was a lonely stand at the time, but again, that willingness to make a stand, I think, is part of what's going to be key. The other, as we just mentioned, is that larger notion of looking for ways of working together. You combine those two things with, again, a very consistent track record in pushing that direction, and I think you have a formula for change.
Well, former Governor Mark Sanford, we appreciate your time and joining us here on the Hilton Head News, and we hope to speak with you again before that election in March.
Well, look forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you.